And Ember in the Ashes is a prime example of why you should not judge a book by its cover.
This is the introduction song. It's not very good, but it's not too long.
I mean it, really. Like, when I first heard about this book, I thought, well, that sounds like a neat idea. And then as I read the summary, it just seemed kind of lazy and poorly put together and not all that thought out. So I was like, well, shit, I guess I won't read it then. But then, a couple months later, I was bored, and so eventually I was just like, okay, fine, I'll read it. And I gotta tell you, it's fucking great. Now, next month, the third book in this series is coming out, so I figured I would just review the first two to give you all an idea of what it's like and why I enjoy these so much and why you should pick them up. Now, there's not any individual aspect of this book that I would say stands out as being like the most amazing thing I've ever read. Like, you know, the characters and the plot and the world building, they're all good. They're very good, actually. They're pretty far above average. But they don't blow my mind. However, the way they all come together and work off of one each other and flow and build, like, I can't even really explain it, but it's absolutely amazing, and this book is amazing. So, the plot of this book is that a young woman named Laia lives in the Martial Empire, and yeah, that's a stupid name, but whatever. And her ethnic group that was conquered by them a while ago are called the Scholars, and they're like second-class citizens. And one night, some martial soldiers break into her house and kill her grandparents, and they take her brother because they think he's working with Scholar rebels. And Laia manages to escape. She finds the resistance, and she's like, please help me rescue my brother. And they're like, okay, we'll do that, but we need you to do something for us first. And so they send her to this military academy as a spy, and as that's happening, there's another character named Elias, who is actually a student at the military academy. It's called Blackcliff Academy. I'm sorry, words are hard. He actually doesn't want to be there, really. He's planning his escape at the very beginning, but later these priests, known as the Augurs, come down and they tell everyone, hey, the Emperor's about to die and he has no heir, so we're gonna have this, like, tournament thing to select the new Emperor. And Elias actually is one of the candidates they select, so now he's stuck there. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is that this is one of the only young adult books I've ever read that has 2 points of view that switch back and forth that actually needed to have the 2 points of view switch back and forth. Because each individual character actually does feel distinct when their POV comes up. You know, it's not difficult to tell the difference. You don't have to stop and think, well, who's talking now? What are they doing? What? Like, no, they're very easy to tell apart. Now, Elias is like this ultra mega badass super soldier almost, who has been training for years, so he feels a lot different than Laia, who is very scared, obviously, but very determined, and honestly, in a lot of ways, she feels like a normal person who was just thrust into a horrifying situation and just wants to get out and rescue her brother. So you really feel for her a lot of the time. Whereas Elias, like, you do feel sorry for him because he's had kind of a shit lot in life thrust at him. But at the same time, you also feel more of a, oh, this guy's cool, he's a badass. So, you know, they have very distinct chapters and very distinct personalities, and they actually juxtapose pretty well with one another. Yes, I just said juxtapose. I took high school English. Fuck off. Now, the plot's a little difficult to talk about in any more detail than I already have without giving away too much, but suffice to say, the tournament goes on, Laia does some spying, and some crazy shit starts taking shape. I won't say crazy shit happens, but crazy shit starts taking shape, and then there's actually several really good twists and turns, and at the end I was like, well, what the fuck, I need to read more now. And luckily, when I read this was only like 2 months before the second book came out, so worked out great for me. And like I said, there wasn't any one aspect of this that really just blew my mind. It was just how they all came together. And individually, they're all very good. Like I said, Laia, she feels like a pretty normal person for the most part. Like, she's smart, yeah, but she also just feels like a regular girl who, like I said, was thrust into a horrifying situation and wants to get out. Whereas Elias also is thrust into a less horrifying situation, and he also wants to get out, but he just goes about it in a different way. And as they start meeting each other and they start forming a bit of a relationship, like not necessarily a romantic one, I'll just say that right now. Like, it's not that predictable or that cliched, but it is still very interesting. They do feel like actual friends and everything, and they just work really well off of one another, so I did like that. And some of the other characters, again, they're very good, they just don't blow my mind, and yet they still work off of one another in such ways that I don't even really know how to put it into words, but it's amazing, it really is. Like, there's a Helene, who is Elias's friend, and she's apparently the only female student at Blackcliff Academy, but whatever, that's not really important. Like, she's there, and for the most part, she really does feel like Elias's friend. Like, again, they have an interesting dynamic between them, and even though they're friends, they have to compete and fight against one another. So that's always an interesting thing to do. Like, you could go back to something like Yu-Gi-Oh! And see Joey and Yugi dueling against each other. Like, you know, you want both of them to win, but you know that's impossible. One of them has to lose, and so that's always cool to see. And then there's what I think is the main villain of this story, who is the Commandant, and she's, I'm not really sure how to describe her. Like, she's the commander of the academy, you know, she's the dean, or whatever you want to call her. And she's also Elias's mother, and she's, well, she's a fucking psycho, for starters. Like, she thinks nothing about torturing and killing people for no reason, really. Not even for, like, very little reason, just for no reason. She's just bored. And I don't even get the feeling that she enjoys it, like she's a sadist or anything. I just get the feeling that she doesn't care. It's very odd, and in most circumstances I would sort of roll my eyes at it and just say, oh, okay, she has no reason for what she's doing, but it's clear she has some reason for the things she does, and we just don't know it yet. And she has an interesting relationship with Elias and with Laia, so, you know, it's weird, it's odd, but something about her prevents me from saying that she's stupid or cliched or anything. Something just draws me in, and I really liked that. And another thing I feel the need to mention about this book is that it actually does show that there's a lot of consequences to living in a world like this. Like, I think I mentioned back in my quarantine review that a lot of books will try and act like they're really dark and gruesome without actually being dark and gruesome. You know, they'll censor the violence, there won't be much swearing, there won't be any sort of sex or anything, and so it just feels kind of hollow. Whereas this one, from the beginning, they make it clear that, yes, this is a very violent world. There's a lot of violence, and not even just physical violence. There's quite a lot of sexual violence in here, too, and it's not great. Like, it's not great to be a woman in this world, and it really does pound that into your head at not every opportunity. Like, it never gets old, but it really does drill it in that, yes, this is a horrifying, dangerous situation to be in from the first couple of pages, and I really, really liked that. It makes the whole thing feel a lot more real and a lot more raw, and it just feels more dangerous. I don't think there's much else to say here. Like, this book really is amazing. Every part of it is very good, and as they come together, it creates something that's much greater than the sum. Like, the plot, very, very good, and at the end I was like, well, what the fuck, I want more. You know, the characters are all people I wanted to root for. Like, the villains are not super complex, but there's something about them that draws you in. I mean, it's a great, great book. Like, probably one of the best I've read in the past several years, and seriously, pick it up, because next month A Reaper at the Gates is coming out, and you need to read that.